Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to today's session on Safe Hospital, Hospitals Preparedness for Disaster and Emergencies. I Dr. Sarika, welcome you all. Today's, today's speaker for this session is Dr. P.K. Mishra. Dr. P.K. Mishra, he is Associate Professor at Symbiosis International University. He has done his MD in Hospital Administration from AFMC Pune. Having extensive experience of healthcare administration since 1997, he is serving in various ships, hospitals, naval headquarters, command headquarters in various administrative responsibilities. He is a recipient of Nausena Medal. Now I request Dr. P.K. Mishra sir to start the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for the nice introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yes. Before I start, I'll just, ma'am have given the introduction of mine. I have retired from armed forces after 33 years service, and today's topic of discussion is safe hospital and hospital preparedness for disaster stroke emergencies. Is there any hospital today is safe? This is the first question comes to in my mind. If you see the newspaper cuttings 3 days back in Pune district, they have carried out a survey out of which 32 hospitals have not adhered to the guidelines by the government of Maharashtra regarding the fire safety as well as other safety measures in a hospital. So this is the scenario. If you see, this is not only Pune, everywhere in India, this is the same situation. Why this exercise was carried out by this Pune police? Because just 7 days back, there is a fire in one of the hospitals and 10 neonates they died. Similar things in the COVID hospital in Bijawada. Early in the morning, there is a massive fire. There are 14 patients died. So on and so forth. There are so many things are happening because we are not aware of, and the authorities are not strictly following the norms which before giving these hospitals a go ahead for operation. It is just people are managing to get all the certificates, all the clearances from the various authorities to function. Because now the hospital healthcare is the best business everywhere in India, not only India, abroad. So our topic is how to make a safe hospital and how to prevent the disasters. Before that, I'll just tell you few things. There are at least 20 major disaster strike in the world every year, almost 20 to 25, and globally loss is $50,000 million approximately per year. technology, terrorism, ecological disturbances are increasing day by day, which are resulting for disaster. Disasters in India, if you see earthquake, flood, tornadoes, everywhere started from 19th century. And the East Coast almost every year is facing the brunt of this flood or cyclone. And West Coast, maybe earthquake, and northern part of India. India most disaster prone is our natural disasters. Because there is a massive loss. A person in India has least chance of surviving a disaster. This is not my say. It is the talk of the day because of poor management, ignorance, and poor knowledge of first aid. We don't have crunch of funds, but we don't utilize in a proper way. So what is the definition of disaster? According to WHO, World Health Organization, any occurrence that causes damage, ecological disruption, loss of human life, and deterioration of health and health services in a scale that's sufficient to warrant an extraordinary response from outside the affected community. This is WHO definition, but the more appropriate definition by Government of India on 26th of December, there is a Disaster Management Act 2005. It defines disaster means a catastrophe, mishap, calamity or grave occurrence in any area arising from natural or man-made causes or by accident or by negligence, which results in substantial loss of life or human sufferings or damage to and destruction of property or damage. Degradation of environment is of such a nature and magnitude as to burn the coping capacity of the community of that affected area. It has described everything. If you could recall the first example which I have given, this is because of negligence. There's nothing else. If you see the blast, the Bombay blast, or the Parliament blast, these are all disasters which have been happened because of terrorist attack. This because of man-made causes, and then massive accident. Just day before yesterday, there are 17 doctors. They are traveling from Karnataka to Goa. In the early hours, they met with an accident. 17 people died. Loss of life. So many things. Last year, Visakhapatnam, there are 3 gas leaks. So many people have suffered. 14 people died. Hundreds were admitted into the hospitals. These are all disasters. And as a healthcare professional, we should know and we should prepare for a safe hospital, because you are the person who are commanding the hospitals, who are managing the hospitals, and you are in the helm of affairs. People are looking forward for your managerial qualities, for your leadership, so that you guided them and you will lessen their sufferings. You will give the best of care at the time of need, right kind of attention at the right time, at right quantity, in right proportion. That's why we all are here. That's why you are there. That responsibility you have to take. No area or country is immune. A knack to strike an inopportune time. It has got no time. It can come anytime. No two disasters are alike. The magnitude, the the force, the calamities are not alike. Every disaster is unique, but mitigation is possible. Convergence of men, material, information, everything is possible, and it produces characteristic disaster behavior. Medical disaster. Arrival with or no warning of many more casualties of all types. Decrease and severity than the hospital is staffed or equipped to handle that at a particular time. I am talking of in 2014, there is a blast in one of the oil companies in Visakhapatnam. The magnitude was so heavy, just opposite sides is the hospital. There is a naval hospital. All gas, gas pans, the buildings have been cracked. There are so many people died. More than 39 people died. But the impact is so much, the damage is so much, that more than 300 people admitted in the hospital. But hospital, unfortunately, the situation of hospital is such that the hospital itself has suffered the brunt of the disaster. So they were functioning in a restricted area. So functionally, it is a situation where it's too much of work for too few people with inadequate facilities. Health problems in disaster due to direct impact of injury, infection, drowning, delay in evacuation, non-availability of non-availability as well as inadequate medical care, disorganization. Your hospital is not prepared to receive casualty. Only disaster plan is in pen and paper. It has been never practiced. Delay in transportation, delay in relief work. Who will do? You have to, the job assignment, job description is not clearly laid out. If you just recall, if you have seen the movie of Titanic, you could imagine what has happened, why there are so many casualties. If you have seen that movie and realize why so much of casualty, even if everything was there, all safety measures were there. Why? Because each ship, whether it is a warship, whether it is a passenger ship or a cargo ship, their life rafts are given. Whatever is the capacity of that ship, the number of life rafts or the rescue boats are adequately placed. But what happened? It has not been laid down who will go to which boat. If you see, the Titanic has taught a lesson to the entire world. Today, if you visit a warship, you visit a merchant ship, you visit a cargo ship, the day you join, the first 2 days, you will have an orientation. They will teach you the evacuation drill, and you have been assigned a life raft. Suppose your employee number is 1238, you have been assigned boat number 63. So if there is a disaster, you have to rush to 63. In Titanic, everybody is rushing to one or two lifeboats. So there is a stampede. People are jumping to the water. A lot of people died. They don't know where to go. So after that, the entire world, the ocean, all the sea-going ships, whether it is a merchant, whether it is a warship, everywhere there is a laid down that person number A will go to the boat number C or boat number 1. Everybody, if there is a disaster, and this drill is by God, they practice. This drill has been executed. It's a mock drill executed at the sea. With all precautions, they do a mock drill of disaster preparedness so that they know, and they perforce tell the people, because I have served 7 years on board ships, warships. They, by God, they will tell you to jump to the sea in the middle of ocean with all life rafts, with helicopter and all nets around, so that even if you try to, you will not go down. But they will tell you, suppose there is a disaster, that you have to go to that boat, you catch that boat will be lowered, or you go to that boat, that motorized boat will go down and they will leave you there. So this thing has been taught by, when you do a mistake, from the mistakes of the ship Titanic, the entire world has been wise enough today. And there is a delay in evacuation also in that ship, and disorganization with there. There are adequate medical care, but there everywhere there is confusion. They don't know what to do, because they never expected, never practiced. People don't know, they have been not been sensitized. Health hazard of the disaster depend upon the population of density, the population displacement, disruption of pre-existing facilities, disruption of normal health programs. Increase the post-disaster, there is increased vector-borne diseases and climatic exposure, inadequacy of food and nutrition. Then we come to the management. It means a continuous integrated process of planning, organizing, coordinating, and implementing the measures which are necessary or expedient for prevention of danger or threat of any disaster. The mitigation or reduction of risk of any disaster or its severity or the consequences. Then you have to have capacity building. You, from your previous experience or experience from other countries, other part of the society, you will know that what will be the impact. You have to calculate accordingly. How many people I have to displace, for how many people I have to prepare for hospital facilities and food, their shelter, everything you have to plan approximately a rough idea, so that at least 80% of your job is finished and you are prepared to deal with any disaster. The prompt response to any threatening disaster situation or disaster is very important for a good disaster management plan. assessing the severity or magnitude of the effect of any disaster, you should assess, because there are so many technology are available. They give you time to time, real time. What is the speed? What is the magnitude? Where it is moving? And they will tell you exactly when it will landfall. These are, I am talking of natural disasters. But man-made disasters, you cannot predict. Negligence, just like I told you, this fire in the hospital, or there is a blast in the chemical factory, in the oil rig. These are all because of our shortcuts. Chalta hai attitude. We accept. We lower our guard. That's why we are suffering. We never thought that because of my mistake, I am giving a clearance. Tomorrow, my family will be admitted there. Myself may be admitted there. If there is a situation, then what will happen? If somebody thinks before signing in the dotted line, giving this clearance, then this situation could not have been happened. Then rehabilitation and reconstruction of whatever has been lost is also very important. Disaster process is a preparedness. You get the warning, threat, and the impact. After that, assessment. Then the rescue team, preparedness. You have already prepared your rescue team, they'll go to immediate action. Most important, that initial recovery. Long-term rehabilitation is the job, is a latter. And prevention, that is not our job. But this is the process. But our process, finish off in preparedness, get the warning, assessment, we are ready, rescue, immediate action, and initial recovery. Disaster plans are carefully constructed through documents that can carry a hospital through all type of crisis. That's by Friedman. Your documentation, proper documentation, your mock drills, your preparedness are all depends on how you have conceived your hospital during construction. If you see, you go to any private hospitals, many government hospitals, nursing homes, they have been left, right, center, everywhere in the countryside it has been established. But there is a fire norm that at least you have to have a perimeter road around your hospital boundary, inside your hospital boundary, which should be at least 18 feet road minimum, so that these fire tenders can move the entire hospital. But you see, there may be very narrow road which is encircling the hospital. This because the prices of the land is very premium. We don't want to leave any space unutilized, but without realizing that we are compromising the safety. We are compromising the safety standards. So we built something. We built our that gas, centrally gas pipeline, gas, or we make our AC plant there, or we can put our standby generator there. Sometimes in many hospitals, whatever I visited in my 33 years of service, there's in corner, this space is left, they make the dumping of all these kachara dumping. They dump all their waste, but without realizing that it has blocked that perimeter road. There is no signposting. Every floor, there should 4 floor plans should be displayed. Fire exits should be properly marked. Any patient admitted to the hospital, they should be told, they should be apprised. Yes, if there is a fire, if there is a crisis, there is a earthquake, you have to go from here, take to a left turn, and you will find a ramp, or you will find the staircase up there. Don't use the lifts if there is a fire. The fire or these handheld fighting equipments, their position should be earmarked. The smoke detectors in each room, sprinklers, and they should be connected to the central monitoring system of the hospital, where the engineering department is housed. So they can monitor if there is a fire or there is a smoke somewhere. So they should be getting the fast information. As well as the moment they get that their sprinklers should start. You must have visited many hospitals. Their fire hoses are there. Huge brass, or that there's been red painted with so many things. Fire hoses are there everywhere. But by God, I can tell you, I can vouch for it, 70% of the hospitals, they never ever tried any mock drill. If there is a fire and they have to open up the central fire system, and whether the fire hoses are reaching to the top floor or to the area assigned to that particular fire, and who will close to that particular, who will man that particular area, who will open that valve, who will operate, is nothing laid down. It's everybody's job, but nobody's job. When they open up, I was in a committee for quality assurance for the quality monitoring of hospitals. You go there, when you ask them that there is a fire in 5th floor, what actions you will take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everything is written and kept in that document. Nobody knows in the ground. Who will operate? Nobody is there. Suddenly somebody has been deputed, you go and open that file. He does not know what to do. If there is a fire, which patients has to be evacuated fast? Everybody runs, including the nursing officer, this doctor, everybody runs for their own safety. But imagine those who are in the ICU, CCU, those who have fractures, the neonates, those in dialysis. What about them? Who will look after them? So every ward have to have a floor plan with the number of sprinklers, number of smoke detectors, number of firefighting equipment, where is the staircase, where is the ramp, with all sign postings and with the SOP, standard operating procedures. Who will be evacuated fast? If you could remember, last year in Kota, in one of these institutions where they give this prepare the students for engineering and medical, there's a fire. Students jump from 7th floor, 6th floor, running around. They don't know what to go because just they got no idea. That increases the number of casualties. There will be a stampede. So, in a safe hospital, there should be a laid down plan. When somebody is posted, when somebody is recruited in the hospital, there should be orientation. In the SOP, there should be 2 days orientation. You should know if there is a disaster, what is his position, where he will go, what is his job assigned to him, where he should report, to whom he should report, his job description, and his own safety, what he should do. Communication is very important. So, if we are not doing these mock drills, we are not assessing our shortcomings, where I am lacking, creating a facilities without knowing whether it is functional or not functional, if has no use. Just to show somebody lipstick work never gives the result. So as a hospital administrator, as a function doctor, paramedics, nurse, it is your responsibility to see that you are safe, those you are responsible for those patients, they are also safe, your equipment is safe, and your premises is safe. That is under your control. For that, if you are working in a ward, if your firefighting system is not working, your fire alarm system is not working, your sprinklers are not working, your passage to the door, passage to this staircase is blocked with so many curtains, sometimes wheelchairs, sometimes all these equipments which have not been used or the be are beyond economic repair, those who are already rusted, these are all pile on in the staircase. I have seen hospitals because now lifts have come, people are hardly using staircase, so all these staircases had been boxes of all these discarded drugs, equipments. So there is no free passage. During disaster, during the crisis, you cannot run because the passage is so narrow, hardly any one person can go. So as a in charge of that particular ward, it is your responsibility to see that your passage is free for movement. And once in a while, if you are in the ICU, you have to ask the authority, the CEO, or who is the head of your hospital, who is managing the hospital management, to have a drill. Suppose you have got 10 patients who are in ICU, critical patients, how they will be evacuated? Who will be there to help me at the time of crisis? You should know their names, their telephone numbers, their mobile numbers, and you should have a backup plan so that you know that I am safe. If you are safe, your patients are safe, your premises are safe, and everybody ensure his safety and those who are under him or her safe, then the entire hospital is safe. In 2004, I have visited the Pan Pacific Hotel in Singapore. As a delegation, I have to present a paper. We are three officers from armed forces who have gone there. And in one room, one of our friends, he smoked. You can believe 2 o'clock in the night that entire hospital was activated, entire hotel has been activated. We stayed in a hotel, Pan Pacific Hotel, and that room where that, because they have got that so much of that smoke detector, they detect from the central monitoring system, they come to that room and immediately that officer has been removed from that place, put in another room, and the room has been sanitized, fumigated, and that entire money has been charged to that officer. Why? Because their safety is paramount importance. Why they carry out this exercise at 2 o'clock in the night? You never know. There may be fire. Those who are in the hotel in the middle of night, you never know what will happen. Suppose there is a fire. So we should have a robust monitoring system. As I have already told you, it should be a continuous process. You should imagine, you should foresee what is likely to happen, and your plan must evoke appropriate response. It should be based on your valid knowledge, not that you just write whatever there in the book. It should be general principle. It should be workable, adaptable, realistic, tested again and again, adjust to the people, teach them again and again, put them in their head every 6 months, at least every 6 months. do a mock drill, any part of your hospital. Be realistic, use existing structure, and your SOPs, standard operating procedures, should be clearly written. That makes your hospital safe. Why hospital make disaster plans? This is survival, because you are treating patients, those who are depending on you. Their life is at risk. They cannot move freely. They are totally dependent on your mercy. Will you let them die? Running from for your shelter, for your safety? No. As a hospital administrator, as a head of the hospital, as a head of the ward, or whatever capacity you are in the hospital, it is responsibility towards your community. And you are bound by that. And it is a requirement of accreditation. You have to plan pre-hospital care and hospital care. Organization in the medical review, command control. Communication is very important. Very important. You have to communicate with each other. You have to open. You have to be honest. Accept. Suppose there is a negligence. The coordination, very important. Coordination between different parts of the hospital. The firefighting system, the engineering services, the housekeeping, the treating staff, nurses, paramedics, doctors, administrator. Make a triage team who will be standby, nominate. These are the 2 triage team or 3 triage team. Nominate 2 first aid team. Make a mobile hospital. How you have to make mobile hospital? In Latur, earthquake, the armed forces, they moved a 500 bedded mobile hospital. It came in 10 containers with 4 OTs, 30 bedded ICU, and whatnot, with 2 burn units. But it is not possible because it's not cost effective. Every hospital cannot afford to do that. For that, you have to have a crisis expansion ward. You have to have a space where you can put additional beds. If you are 50, 100, suppose if you have got a 800 bedded hospital, so at least you should plan for 10% to 15% extra crisis expansion ward. 800 plus another about 120 beds. Because if you say 800 bedded hospital, your hospital is fully functional or the fullest capacity if you have reached 80% of your bed occupancy. Almost about 650 to 700 beds. Because even if you put all your manpower, it is practically not possible to man that 800 beds hospital if you have got an 800 bedded hospital, because some people will be on leave, some people will be hospitalized, some people will be on maternity leave. So your availability of manpower is only 80 to 85% any given day, any organization. 90%. So if you have your bed occupancies to 80 to 90%, you are full. If you are making 100%, then you are stretching your resources and you will compromise your quality care. So if you go by this logic, you have got 100 beds available to you. If you go by my saying, so your hospital is fully functional and bed occupancy is 90%. So 100 beds are available to you, 80 beds, 80 to 100 beds, and you have made another 120 beds, crisis expansion ward. So 200 beds are in your hand any given time to accommodate 200 casualties. So go by this thumb rule. If you have got a 100 bedded hospital, so at least make 15 beds as crisis expansion beds. Because with that manpower, you cannot manage more than that. Evaluation of casualty clearing team. You have to teach them again and again. The trials team should know what is trials. The fast aid team should know what they should do. How to segregate the casualties. Whom should they should look past. Disaster plan, disaster manual, training, exercise, rehearsal, and revise your plan depend upon your technology development, your requirement, and get the feedback from all your exercise and rehearsals. So what mistake you have done? Ask the question, am I safe? Is my hospital is safe? If you ask the question again and again, where I am lacking, then you can revise this plan. What I have told you already, physical facilities. Suppose you have made 120 additional beds in an 800 bedded hospital. What are the equipments that will be required for that manning that 120 beds or 200 beds? From where that equipments will come? Who will be the staffing? So you should have standby equipments. Not that you keep that equipments in that room and it is kept there for years and years because fortunately there is no disaster. No, rotate these equipments. All the essential life-saving equipments, ECGs, ventilators, suction machine, monitors, whatnot. Monitor them every 2 months, 3 months to different wards and keep them. But that equipments, that number of equipments, that number of beds, that should be said. And staffing, who will go there? Who are the people who will man that? Have a SOPs. From where? From which wards you will draw the persons? That policy procedure should be there and they should be known. In the armed forces, they told action stations. They told action stations. Suppose there is an action. Suppose there is a terrorist attack. Suppose there is a disaster. Suppose something happened. There is a war. So then action station. Where will go? Just like that. Suppose if you have got a 120 bedded crisis expansion ward, who will be people? PK Misra or A or B or C? Who will go there? You should know my position. The moment there is a siren, there is an announcement in the central announcing system. Yes, there is a disaster and everybody is required to be there. In their respective position, people should rush to their position. They know where I have to man. The first aid team should rush, the evacuation team should rush, the triage team rush, and surgeon anesthesiologists rush to their. And there should be QRT, quick reaction team, QRT. In the QRT, you should have a medicine specialist, a surgical specialist, an anesthetist, interventionist, and operation room technicians, nurses, and other supportive people. So QR team is ready so that you can easily them when there is a disaster. They should know their position, they should assemble where they should assemble. So that practice should be there. But doing this should not hamper your day-to-day running of the hospital. For that, you have to have a time, suitable time where you can practice these things. At least 6 months. And for God's sake, anybody who is joining the hospital, he should know, he should give a orientation. Just like on-job training. Suppose somebody is joining in a radiotherapy department or the radiology department or laboratory, and there is a new equipment, he does not have got that expertise. They give on-job training. You have procured a new equipment, PET scan, that company gives you a 7 days training to your staff. Same thing, your management team should give them a give them on-job training, a practical experience. Suppose where we should know what is my duty, what is my responsibility, where I should and what should my job. Your policy and procedure should be clearly laid down. I have already told you, reception, your trials, activate your accident and emergency department. The primary treatment area include resuscitation room, urgent treatment room, non-urgent treatment room. Suppose if you have got a daycare facilities that convert into a patient holding area or treatment area, it depends upon what size you have. This includes that wards, critical area, operating room, diagnostic department, in patient holding areas, admit disaster victims. Okay. This is the trials. I don't think you require that. But you should know the trials team, what is their responsibility, how they should go about it, how they should do the trials, group 1, group 2, group B, or like that. Who should be treated first, and before that the Glasgow Coma score, Glasgow Coma score, they should also GCS, they should know. So how to calculate these trials short scores, that should be taught by the anesthetist or internist or neurosurgeon or neurology. Control and information system. Any disaster, any happen, you should have a media room, and a person, you should have a very sensible person you should put there in a safe hospital, so that he gives the information. And that information, he should be sensible, he should have a lot of patience, because a lot of media will come and there should be only one point of communication, one point of contact. Not that everybody will start speaking, because what I have seen in the practical, when there is a blast in the chemical factory, everybody becomes a spokesperson. Oh, 37% died. Yeah? There are so many people have come to the hospital. Whoever have come to the hospital, all have been declared dead by that person. But actually, there are only 12 people died or 14 people died. So you should have one person of point, should be aware of that thing. He should control the situation. He should calm, because there will be lot of probing questions by the media. They will tell you, what is your, why you are not capable of treating these patients, why you are not sending to this hospital, that hospital, why you are not arranging air ambulances, and so many things they will ask you. He should not lose his temper. He should give information, everything, and whatever is giving briefing, he should give the same thing. He should get the blessings. He should talk to his higher boss, who is the CEO of the hospital or the top management. Sir, this is the thing I am giving the bulletin, and he can tell the media, this is my bulletin, and I'll give you a bulletin after 1 hour. And there will be lot of chaos. Lot of people will be, everybody will claim we are relatives, we are coming here. Yes. So you should have a waiting area for the relatives and crowd control. You should have your own security, or you call the local police for help. So that the crowd unnecessarily, they will not go roaming around the entire hospital, and they will have a hindrance. They will problematic for you during your treatment. Everybody becomes a doctor that time. Everybody wants to give advice. And you should activate your support services, CSSD, pharmacy, dietary services, pharmacy, security, transportation, adequate ambulances. Ask for help. Suppose if you know that you are expecting more casualties, you ask for help from the local authorities. I was the deputy commandant of Visakhapatnam, that hospital, during that year. So I have contacted 7 hospitals, including Vizag Steel Plant Hospital, then all private hospitals. And I have got, you can believe, 23 ambulances were ready at my disposal with their doctor, because I requested. We have planned again and again every 6 months. If you see today, this airport authority, all airports, they have got a committee in which this local MP, everybody is there. They activate the collector, this district health officer, everywhere activated, and they have a mock hijack drill or mock drill that there is a fire in that or blast in that flight. How to evacuate the casualty? They do. They practically evacuate 130, 140 passengers. Tell them before that you have to, they sensitize them. This is the way you have to do this thing, and ambulances, just they'll bring them ambulances, leave it somewhere there. They'll give some chai pani, but because so that they know where how much time it is taking. Your reaction time, that is called reaction X. Your reaction time. So how fast you are, because time is very premium. That golden hour now, it is golden 10 minutes, golden 30 minutes has come down to golden 15 minutes. The 10-15 minutes is the time when you can just evacuate these patients to their safety as well as for their safe treatment. Your hospital before bringing that, before construction, is such a way that it should be earthquake protection. Use lot of natural resources so that reduce the carbon footprint. You should know your electrical system, AC system. Engineering department should be aware of, not that somebody has built the hospital and you are maintaining, you don't know what is happening. That way you can make a safe hospital. Then alert and recall. If there is an emergency, recall everybody, recall the staff. You should have mobile numbers, alternate numbers of all the staffs, telephone. Call them, alert them. Call them, there is a disaster. Tell them. Public address system. Siren system. Messaging. Plan this disaster mock drills at night or in a holidays or weekend, because you never know when disaster will not come in only working days. It can happen any days. So you should be prepared. Not that everybody is sleeping in the dead of the night. Okay. So these are the alert: green alert, amber alert, red alert. These are all things. This time is short. Now I am exceeding the time. So control center, information system, communication, I told you, very important. And main thing is leadership. Sound leadership to control the confusion. And you should delegate the responsibility, not that you are the head of the organization. You should delegate your responsibility to who is managing. Suppose engineering department is it, or head of the departments, or if you have got a hospital management team, and give them clear cut responsibility and accountability. And organization must be clear with standby. Always have a backup and higher levels held by recognized authority. And leader must delegate. Okay. And key management issue, always cooperation. Cooperation from everybody, entire hospital. Coordination between each department. Interdepartmental coordination is very important. No egos. Multidisciplinary approach is very important. Multidisciplinary approach. Everybody should be involved. Pre-planning prevent poor performances. If you plan properly, if you sweat in peace, you will avoid blood losses during war. Okay, so pre-planning prevents poor performance. Realistic disaster plan. You should be realistic, not that it's just bookies you write and copy paste from somewhere else. Training and rehearsal, that is most important. Doing best for the most. Tries throughout the treatment. Graded care of the casualties. First aid at the earliest. Restoring vitals and monitoring disaster site. Simple and standard therapeutic principles. Treat lessons and degree of urgencies. Then classification, already I have told you, minimal treatment, immediate treatment. I will not go into that. Then the just points to remember. I'll just finish another 1 minute. Sorry for the delay. Staff alert, recall and deployment. Employ the triage team, which I have already told you. Reinforce the accident emergency department and critical care areas. Initial minimum deployment of staff in each area. Assessment of expected number of casualty, determine the staffing need. Then staff rest, reception, redeployment, because that will continue for days, maybe 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. So you have to segregate people. Documentation is very important, because that time a lot of legal hassles are there. So you should be very alert about no loopholes in that way. Age, fakes, everything. If you have got some identification mass or something clear cut, identify the dead bodies so that there is no confusion. All the belongings should be kept in a locker, or you should have a security team which will be properly sealed and kept it, because these are all legal implications and legal triangles. After that, the hospital will face, and call the police team so that they can do their best. Hand over everything to them. If you find something is there which can identify them, put, if there is, unfortunately there is a lot of death, then put the numbers in that, the particular, everywhere is in the right thumb, is the right toe, or put in the right toe, numbering, as well as not in single place, another place also, so that there will be no manipulation. Staff needs has been planned. That's what I'm telling. Surgical team, number of casualties, and 5R strategy: rescue, relief, restoration, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. Thank you. I have finished. If there is any question, I'll just see the chat box. Ma'am, is there any question?
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you for such a detailed session. So, shall we start with the query?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Sir, one of the student has asked, what are the measures to safeguard hospitals against floods?
Against floods.
Yes.
Your hospital, when you are making a hospital, before planning a hospital, you should know the catchment area where you are building. Is it prone for floods, earthquake, or any natural disaster? Suppose somebody is planning a hospital in Odisha, in the coastal district, then he should plan that at least I will be 80 kilometers, 70 kilometers away from the shore. Or unfortunately, if he has to make it, then he have to put this engineering team so that all the shelters, all the buildings has to be prevented from earthquake, because there are a lot of technology has come so that these buildings are not affected by flood also, as well as from earthquake also. So a lot of technology nowadays come. These shelters have been made by the UNO during this entire coastal of Odisha, Bengal and Andhra Pradesh, including Chennai after this tsunami. They have made shelters in that area. They are all earthquake as well as flood prevented shelters. So that technology has to be used. So if you are making hospitals near that thing, and if you have got an old hospital, then only God can say you have to plan. You have to plan all these measures, additional measures, and you have to deploy a team, engineering team, who can give you some suggestions to prevent these floods, coming to the floods. But if you are in a low line like Mumbai, every year there is a flood in the hospital, then you cannot do that, because this has been made like that, and every year there is a water, there is no water, always there is a stagnation of water. For that you have to have preventive measures. You have to have these fire pumps, then these all that side walls, retaining walls you have to make, so that water will not, ingress of water will not come. That's the only thing I can suggest. But if you are planning, then plan it properly. During a planning process, the architect should give you a proper, yeah, this subsoil water is this much, and this you are having water logging this swamp area.
Thank you, sir. So one of the student has asked, like, what do you mean by safe hospitals, and how to make health facilities safe in emergencies?
That's what I have already told them, how to make it safe. If you are safe, and who are you have been given the responsibility as a, suppose if you are a doctor or you are nurses or you are paramedics, you are posted in a ward, you are safe, so you have to make sure that that those who are under you are safe. For that I have told you that you should check the first thing, the day you take over that you are, you see that your sprinklers are working, your smoke detectors working, your there is proper signposting is there. You sensitize your patients that yes, suppose there is a fire or suppose there is an earthquake, this is the evacuation plan, you have to go, don't use this lift, you have to have, then you have to make clear, I told that you have to clear the passage, all your there are lot of things. If you go to any hospital today, lot of things, all the old equipments, all the old curtains, they are all have been stacked at in the staircases, so you have to make it free. Then in the entire premises there should be at least there be 18 feet, at least 18 feet to 20 feet road around your hospital, so that your fire tender can go to the any nook and corner, so that your accessibility is there, and handheld all these firefighting equipment should be available in the ward. People should know that is the only thing you can do. the safe hospital.
And the next question is, sir, Kamalakshi student has asked, when compared to other countries, is India good? Is India good enough to handle healthcare disasters today?
That's what I'm telling. In the first sentence, when I started the initial introduction, I told they ask the question to yourself: am I safe working in this hospital? How safe is my working environment? Because in that's what I given the example. Today, just 4 days back, there are 10 neonates they've died in that hospital because their fire clearance has given. And 3 days back, Pune district collector has given a mandate to the department, health department. They carried out a survey. 32 hospitals have divided of all the fire norms. They don't have a fire fighting facilities, but they have got the clearance. Who have given them clearance? We are responsibility. That's what I'm telling. That I told the entire this sentence. That when you are signing as a fire officer, you should ask yourself: if my family will be admitted tomorrow, or God forbid, I am admitted in the hospital, is their hospital is safe? So we bypass all the channels. We cut shortcuts. We are very prone to bribe. That's why these norms have been there. That's COVID hospital in that Bijawada, in the early morning 4:30, the 17 COVID patients died. Why? Because they are converted to a hotel, to a COVID ward. Is it supposed to be? Who is responsible? Administration is responsible. We are responsible. We are accountable for that. We accepted nonsense. That's why it is coming to us. Because we don't care for others.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for explaining it. So, sir, the next question is asked by Dr. Praveen Varghese. Should the hospital provide disaster management services pro bono to foster goodwill in the community? And if services are pro bono,
can you repeat, ma'am? Because
yes,
I cannot have the last part.
Should the hospital provide disaster management services pro bono to foster goodwill in the community?
To the community?
Yes.
Yes, because there is a social responsibility. Suppose there is a disaster in nearby, whether you are in a nursing home, whether you are a private hospital, whether you are a private practitioner or you are a government, this is your duty, mandate duty to provide as far as possible, to get involved in the disaster management.
Sir, actually the student is asking about like pro bono as a for public good, a outsider can provide such kind of services. I think that kind of question is this.
That's what I'm telling, that everybody's responsibility. Why, suppose there is a train accident, why people are coming to rescue nearby villages? Right. Because this should become within yourself. So can I do something for the society? This is just like a social responsibility. All the corporates, they have got a social obligations. Today you see everywhere in Pune they have all these dustbins have been put. This is Aadhar Punawala dustbins. Why? Because this is a social responsibility he has taken. So as a person, because he has a corporate, he has got money, he has given something to the society in turn. Because same thing, we also as a member of the society, when there is a disaster, as per a possible, suppose I am a doctor. If I have heard there is a disaster, what is the best I can do, I can go. And if you see in the air, in the flights, they ask for it because can somebody come and help? There is a person who has got a chest pain or somebody is come. So that people are volunteer. In 92, I have delivered one lady in the train when I was traveling from Calcutta to Chennai. At Balugaon, one of the remote area, just a small station. There is no medical facility in and around. So I've delivered in the train. And next was Barampur station. We evacuated that patient. So that is, suppose I was also passenger, I could have told no. Nobody has asked me. You should have volunteered. You should come.
Right, right. And sir, one of the student is asking about like what is the role of AI, artificial intelligence, in safe hospitals?
Nowadays, this artificial intelligence has got a tremendous role because it's all fire safety. These are all your electronic gadgets. These are all been monitored by them. They have that AI, because this is a major thing in a hospital. Because unless it is a man-made disaster, these all hospitals if you see in India for last 35 years, they are all fire. Not a single hospital has been disaster because of flood. You're all fire. So artificial intelligence got a major role to smoke detectors, sprinklers. They control everything. They will tell you what is the susceptible area where that you have got a hazard. Your that manifold gas centrally gas supply, oxygen, carbon dioxide and other supply are there. So they monitor everything, artificial intelligence. This is just like your third eye. They will give you all the inputs, so you work on it. Before that, you take the input from the our time in a hospital. You take the input from the people, from the nurses, from the doctors who are working, or the paramedics. Say what should be the ideal, where your wash basin should be put, what should be the depth. But today, they will tell you, you can put here, everything. So there are a lot of things. Artificial intelligence, these are being used in the radiology department, left, right, center. The PET scan. And all electronic medical records. So that is a thing. So you can utilize, depend upon where you want to utilize this your knowledge. Just like telemedicine. We have never heard about telemedicine. Today it is because of this COVID. This is just now everywhere talk of the town. Everybody is know telemedicine. Because awareness was not there. So everybody, you have to, our people, you have to groom them and teach them. Just like same thing. If you practice in the hospital, mock drill and awareness, if you tell a patient, just like I was giving them, giving this CA about tightening, that time people don't know where to go. Everybody is collected in one place, the stampede people died. Even if there is adequate number of boats are there, safety boats. So that has taught world a lesson. Today you go, everything number is there. The moment you go to the ship, they will tell you that this is your, if there is an emergency, this is your boat number, and this is the drill. Same thing like when you are there in the plane, they will tell you, suppose there is an emergency, do this, ye karo, inflate karo. So this is a drill only. Okay.
Right. So thank you, sir. We are done with all the questions, sir. So, sir, thank you for such a wonderful session. Your vast experience has helped, I hope, help all the students to relate with the situation.
Anytime they can contact me. You can leave them my number. So anytime I am available 24/7. If I will be of any help, I'll be really grateful. Thank you very much for patiently hearing. And if any queries, because of limited time, I have tried my best to squeeze everything. But anytime I am open to any questions, suggestion, and I am also in the still learning phase. Not that okay. And if you have got any queries, if I don't know, I'll come back to you with all the references. So
thank you, sir. Thank you.
okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Here I conclude. The session is over. Thank you.
Thank
You
you,
for
ma'am.
joining.
Thank you very much.